commitment that they are going to put an end to child labor by 2025. That commitment came from Sustainable Development Goals. This is the only goal which commits to end all forms of child labor by 2025. What have we done in the first 4 years after this announcement of SDGs, or 4 years which are before pandemic, preceding the pandemic? The number of child laborers in the world has grown from 152 million to now 160 million. The world has become richer. The world has made so much progress. And that's why I am angry that why Africans and sub-Saharan Africans have to pay the cost of all this progress which we are making in the world. Are we walking on the backbones of African children? No, dear friends. This is unacceptable. This is intolerable.
Because these children like education, protection, and care, they are often trapped in a working life of hardship. But regions, we desperately need more youth-led initiatives like this one to tackle the children away from a life of hardship. When young people voice out, we know from experience globally that there is a solution. I won't deny that tackling child labor is difficult in the face of persistent problems like poverty and certain deep-rooted cultural norms, and currently with the complexity associated with COVID pandemic, children continue and are at a greater risk. But a child trapped in life of slavery cannot wait for the root causes to be solved. That child needs help. And it's right here and right now. A roadmap to speed up and ban the worst forms of child labor is an important step. I'm appealing through all of you, for all our national governments, civil agencies, NGOs, including multilateral agencies, to do everything in their power to end the worst forms of child labor today. The primary responsibility of our lives was the government of Ghana, in the case of Ghana, for Togo, in the government of Togo, for all our countries. They have the sole responsibility to support and to help eradicate child labor.
I mean, Africa has such a huge demography in terms of the youth that any attempt, any measures, any initiatives that serve to protect the future of the youth is absolutely welcome. You know, now, the biggest problem with child labor, as we see it, is that it robs African youth of education. And, I listened intently to Dr. Satyarthi's speech and as well as Mr. Tefamare's speech. And one of the things they both mentioned was education. And let me quote something that one of the prominent leaders, the African continent said. He said, and I quote, "Education is the great engine of personal development. It is through education that the daughter of a peasant farmer can become a doctor. That the son of a mine worker can become owner of the mine, and a child of farm workers can become president of a great nation." That is a quote by Madiba, the great Nelson Mandela. So we know that the canker of child labor is simply one thing that takes away education. And education, once you are robbed of education, you are really robbed indeed. Because education is what you need to break the cycle of poverty. And so for us as a foundation, as Youth Bridge Foundation, we are really passionate about education. And that's why we're very supportive of this initiative and this conversation that is seeking to address something, a canker that is really attacking education. We as a foundation have been around for the last 15 years. For those of you who may not know us, we are in justice, in governance, but we're also largely in education and mentorship. We also have a continental platform. We call it the African Youth Governance Platform. And what we seek to do, in fact, in the last 13 years, what we have sought to do is bring together a convergence of African countries, from Zambia, from southern, eastern, western, northern Africa, brought them together to discuss issues around governance and to groom them for leadership. So we have actually been able to mentor some of the prominent members of parliament in various countries, around the continent. And so that's on the initiative of our continental platform. But we have also largely been involved in education, and we think that there is opportunity for our institute, our foundation, to partner with like-minded organizations. I'm excited to hear about what Plan Ghana is doing. I'm excited.
This comes to 1 in every 10 children in the world. This is alarming. In sub-Saharan Africa alone, UNICEF estimates that nearly 17 million children have been condemned to child labor in the last 4 years. The call to act and scale up efforts at fighting child labor could not have come at a better time. Evidently, child labor is a result of a complex web of events and circumstances. Poverty and deepening inequalities account for a great part of the cause of child labor. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has further worsened this situation as millions of people have lost their jobs across the world. In all this, children have become the most vulnerable to the shocks of the pandemic. As a result, a lot of them are being pushed into exploitative labor to fend for themselves or support their guardians. The legacy of this phenomenon is devastating. At their age, children need education and protection from extreme conditions. Physical and psychological development, especially at the early years, are extremely important towards producing functional beings in the society. So at ASYS, we appreciate this fact and are committed to ensuring that children receive the best care and protection against any stress or exploitation. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to take this opportunity to also appraise you of the work we are doing at the All Africa Students Union. Recently, I was in Accra on a working visit. I spent time with officers at the All Africa Students Union Secretariat, and I must commend them for the amazing work they are doing. This year, the All Africa Students Union introduced a monthly newsletter as part of efforts to catalog the works of the union and to make it available for member unions and other partners. I encourage you all to access the newsletters to keep up with our work at the union. The Research and Communications Unit of the All Africa Students Union is ready to work with you all going forward. As partners and member unions, you are encouraged to share with the team your activities to be incorporated into the newsletters. Together, let us work to provide visibility for our work. Comrades, again, indeed, the year has been a very busy one for the All Africa Students Union, despite the difficulties. The union has been holding a series of webinars and other such important programs over the period. And there are 7 working groups, that is, the education and students' rights, Pan-Africanism and African culture, migration and mobility, environment and climate, gender advocacy, democracy and good governance, and capacity building. Several webinar series have been organized to promote discourses on relevant matters affecting young people. Last month, on the Africa Students' Day, I had the honor to join a virtual discussion on student activism organized by the Education and Students' Rights Working Group on the back of the commemoration of the Soweto Uprising, where many of our comrades were killed and some assaulted. The union organized a powerful youth-based discussion on student activism on the continent. The Pan-Africanism and African Culture Working Group also had an important conversation on Pan-Africanism and the need to reimagine the ideology within contemporary times as part of activities to commemorate Africa Union Day. We are happy to always give voice to young people on the continent.
Unequal education divides us as people, and an equal education system is a place where the daughter of the director or whatever the CEO will meet with the
Recording
son
in
of
progress.
the cleaner, and they will see that they are equals. They will play together. They will learn together. They will learn the same things, and they will see that they both have value. And this will also make it possible for the children of poorer people to be more willing and able to take action, to participate in the democratic structures, and to demand change and demand a political system that facilitates that. So investing in education is really what we all have to do, but particularly investing in
Human resource manager of ICANN.
Recording in progress.
including the most marginalized,
Ladies,
but also where
gentlemen, you are
people
welcome.
cross financial income
Thank
groups
you.
where they meet.
We will also be relying
my own
on
language. We have an
the-
expression that says that equal children play best. I don't think that's right. I think what's actually the case is that if you play together, you become more equal.
A lot of students from low-income families in North America tend to not even make it to the first month of post-secondary education, let alone finishing that degree and making use of that. And that is from folks that are getting government funding.
Around the world. And if we really want to change things, it's about putting pressure on ministries of finance, country after country, to resist what is so clearly an ideological view of the world, in which the state should be as small as it can be, should collect as in taxes, and should only provide a sort of safety net, minimal services for the population.
Just because listening to the previous panelists speaking and agreeing on so many levels, what happens is a lot of resources, due to corruption, end up not getting to young people and not getting to children. So of course it would be encouraging young people to know the avenues, or even teaching them on the avenues of accountability. See, what happened in 2018, the president of Switzerland at the time, President Alain Berset, visited Kenya, and it was a big deal because he had talked about returning wealth that's been stolen, that's banked in these foreign accounts in Switzerland, and sending them back to Kenya. And everyone was saying we should be super excited about that, we should celebrate. But fast forward to 2021, we're not even seeing any of those resources trickling back yet.
So I think my question is how we really understand the significance of this almost overwhelming problem of the system, and then how do we organize ourselves to fix it? Because that's it's part of this broader struggle. And as one of the outcomes of that struggle, the key thing would be that we would see lives improve for the most marginalized. So the first big thing, I think, for me to understand as a layperson looking at all of these jumbles of issues together is that in some ways, it's definitely not an accident that things are so unequal. I think that's the design of the system. That really is.
The development of the world has grown. And so if we're going to give that young boy, young girl who's coming from a place of poverty an ability or a shot at moving away from that particular place of disadvantage, it means that we need to invest in the right places. And so young people, students are looking at governments that would invest more into.
When children and young people have that dedicated support at an early age, they are much more likely to then enter school, stay in school, and pursue education, which then enables them to take on jobs where they are able to earn at a level where they're paying tax and supporting their families. So we can't do one without looking at the other. That's where I believe. But I just want to be absolutely clear about certain things. Social protection is a human right. It is in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is SDG 1.3. So the duty bearer for human rights and the SDGs is states, but there is a shared duty between parents and the state for protecting children.
Again, how do you, for the youth that is listening to us right now, what advice would you want to give to the youth pertaining to their channeling of their anger at injustice into something productive?
Yes. So in my opening remarks today, a few hours ago, I have said that you are the source of power, you are the source of energy, you are the most compelling voices. But more importantly, your hearts are much more cleaner than the adult people, because you are not yet polluted as many of us. So if you raise the voice, your voices are going to be the most compelling and most powerful voices against child labor. You can use your social media. You use your social media for many things. Of course, the ASU must be having a lot of social media presence, and individually, many of you have your own, social media presence, including Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. So when you pick up your phone, think of those girls and those boys who are denied their childhood, who are denied their future, and they are working to produce wealth. They are working to produce your clothes, your apparels, your shoes, your chocolates, your footballs, and so many other things. So just think of them. And when you read something in the newspaper, or when you see something on television, then feel that they are your sisters, your brothers, and you can make a difference just by using your social media in terms of creating awareness, but also protesting against those kind of situations. You can write to your governments, you can call your local parliament member or politician from any party, but more importantly, you are also a strong or a very powerful consumer. You consume so many things which are made by child laborers. So once you come to know that a company which is using child labor, then you should raise your voice against it. And even before you buy something, as a compassionate and concerned and active, responsible consumer, you can ask the shopkeeper, can you assure that these things are not made by child labor in this situation? Because that child is working at the cost of one adult job. That child is denied education in future. So as a consumer, you can play a very important role and influence the entire pattern of business in your country and globally. Particularly in global supply chains, you can raise these questions. So creating awareness, putting pressure on the politicians, as well as pressure on the companies which are using child labor, you can play an important role. But for that, you have to work in cooperation and collaboration with other like-minded young people. So ASU has national outfits and local outfits in many colleges, universities, also in countries in Africa, I know, and I have met many of them. So as ASU leaders, ASU activists, you can raise this voice as a group, as a powerful African voice, and that you can definitely make a difference.
Recording in progress.
Numbers we have are so we are a large cohort. And we know that our continent currently has the largest young population when we talk about youth population globally and all of that. We should look at issues around forming coalitions and alliances. And you see, I even before I address that, the truth is I feel like maybe young people are doing something, but there's a gap. Perhaps we are not getting the needed support. And I'm very much happy to have people like Dr. Vasu and co who are strongly ready and willing to support young people who have dedicated. Because to a large extent, even moving away from issues around peace, children, and conflict and all of that, even when you look at the other sectors, you have young people coming up with innovative ideas to do certain things, and the trust in the youth populace is not high. And so, or institutions think that if they want to give it to address, it is not worth it. They are going to have issues. I won't say that as young people, as a youth cohort, we are perfect. But definitely, if we have a very good intergenerational dialogue, so I'm kind of mixing a lot of the things here. I'm talking about supporting youth institutions to run projects or to run programs that are addressing the issues. I'm talking about having national dialogue. I'm very happy, and you look at my age, and you look at Dr. Vastus. Definitely, undeniably, he brings on board a lot of experience from the field. I am up on the table. It means as an older group have started addressing the issues, but what have they done right, or what did they not do right? If we are able to sit at the table as an upcoming generation and an outgoing generation to have intergenerational dialogues, then we are able to identify the gaps that have come or the flaws that we have had over the period. And then as a cohort coming on, as a youth group in the current context, we are able to now align it to suit our context. And then we come up with a very, very practical and innovative solutions. And I think youth leading at the table, youth being at the table too, when we are talking about the discussions, when we are talking about conflict, issues around conflict and children in even these conflict zones, how many young people do you see in the boardrooms when they are discussing their resolutions? It is a question worth asking. It is an analysis worth doing. Because if you do not bring the group that you want to help address the issue on the board or at the table to address the issue, then it is like you discuss and you want the young person to be. So if giving a seat at the table, when we talk about dialoguing, even in addressing these issues, if we have the young people at the table, then they are able to express the issues as it relates to them. Someone might see this as very trivial, but in conflict resolution, has anyone thought of perhaps even bringing a child who is affected to the table to tell them what is happening or how they feel? That might seem very trivial or really, really not necessary because they are children. And we come from a part of the world where children should be seen and probably not be heard. And so I think I'll stop with this, not because I don't have many more points, but I want to also hear, I'm very happy to have an intergenerational dialogue. I want to hear from Dr. Vasu. I want to hear from the other speaker. And then I can add on as to some of the practical solutions. But I feel like the solutions are all around us. We need intergenerational dialogue. We need young people at the table. And we need to walk the talk of supporting youth institutions, youth-led organizations, youth projects, youth programming that seek genuine ones, of course, that seek to address the issue that we are talking about. Over, Edmund.
Okay, thank you very much, Esina. Like she said, it's often that we expect to have the youth be seen and not be heard. And someone was telling me that if you are not at the table, you are on the table. You are the menu. You are the one being served. I remember when they were resolving the Sierra Leonean conflicts, President Tijan Kaba at the conference brought a child there just to show the child with missing limbs,
limbs and to show the effect. The child was only there as a prop, not to express how she felt, not to tell that not to tell the damage that has been caused to her. Has been working on convening a working group on youth peace and security. And among the many things that we want to look at is children's involvement in conflict. We've also been collaborating with Dr. Vasu's group, the Global Peace, since for the past almost 3 years. Kobla has been with us. Dr. Vasu joined us in Accra, and the 100 City project. I know with under the leadership of Kobla, we have been able to do so. So we all want to work together to get to. And at this point, if he has anything to say on what Esinam said, I think Seme is ready. It was a recorded message, so I was just queuing it to play. Thank you. So, Dr. Vasu.
Yeah, no, I mean, Esinam covered it very well, I think, and you also said it, Esinam, very passionately also. I think we need to make sure that we have a network of young people who are raising this issue, and I agree with you, it needs to be an intergenerational dialogue, because you can't solve the problem with one side of the equation. You have to solve the problem with both sides of the equation. And, you know, when we started Global Peace, we started it because young people were saying, you know, our leaders talk about us, but not with us. And that was the reason we came up with Global Peace, to create a platform for young people to talk with their leaders, not allow their leaders just to talk about them. And here in this issue, for sure, it is adults who are exploiting young people. And therefore, this is an intergenerational conversation, but one that needs to be highlighted globally, because yes, the conflicts might be in Africa, but the arms come from elsewhere in the world. And those are the arms that are killing young people. So we need to turn this into a global issue, and we need to say, look, we need to raise awareness and get everybody to begin to come you know, to the fore and be part of this campaign to stop the exploitation of young people. We should be looking at the education of young people, not the exploitation of young people.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vasu. I'd like to introduce Seme now. Seme is a survivor. I listened to Seme speaking during the laureates forum, where former Nobel laureates all came together to speak on child labor. And Seme has been gracious enough to send us a video for us to share with the panel. He was supposed to be on the panel, but he was unable to join us. So I hope you can all see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know if it's only me, Edmund, but there is no volume.
okay. Okay, so I'll increase the volume immediately. And so I'll just quickly resolve it. I've just been prompted. Volume is high.
Okay, I share sound.
Hello, everyone.
Please, can you hear?
My name is Samuel of
Yes, we can now.
Executive Director.
Yes, we can hear.
International. And Truthwork International is a faith-based organization in Bidibidi Refugee Settlement, northern Uganda. We are based in particularly Yumbe district. And Truthwork International works with children, youth, and the elderly. Generally, we work with the vulnerable population. I am so grateful for to be part of this discussion today that we are talking about child labor in a conflict zone. So I have to say that whenever there is conflict, there are these two things. One is violence, two is hunger. Once violence comes in, we see that people look to see that they have to move into a peaceful place. And when you go to another place, or when you move out of your place, you see that there are very many things in that new place that you need to start with. That is like actually you're starting afresh. And in that process of starting afresh, we see that children are more involved. For example, you move into a new place, you left your gardens, you left whatever food you have stored, and then you go to a new place where you need to eat, you have to start afresh. And we see that people normally engage into gardening, and this is where child labor comes in, where children will be engaged in gardens from morning after sunset. And we see that it is against their rights. They have not yet reached to that age of working from morning after sunset. And we also see that children are involved into quarrying. You see, quarrying is like breaking stones for making concrete. I know engineers knows this well. So children will be breaking these stones. They have to dig out a huge stone and break it into pieces, and you have to break it to at least morning after sunset. You move on the street with things on your head, and also along that street you see that children, more especially the girls, they are caught up into commercial sex, which is also against their rights. And here we're looking on how do we solve these issues? How do we come out from this? How do we protect children from this case? One, I have to say that we have to provide support to the children to improve, to the parents of the children. We have to provide support to the parents of the children to improve their economy, because it is because of lacking something. You moved from your own place to a new place, so you have to start from zero, and that's why they involve even these children into. So if these parents are given something, I think they will not be, if they are supported financially or they are supported in their gardens, so they will not be engaging these children a lot. That is one thing that we can save these children from child labor. And then two, we have to encourage the national laws. They have to be encouraged, and they have to be implemented by the lawmakers. And these laws, they also have to be taught to the parents or to the entire community, so that the entire community knows that if we engage children into such kind of work, we will be arrested or we will be accountable for it. And then the third thing is that we have to be equipping the leaders, the community leaders, could be faith faith leaders, the government leaders, and the community leaders, and including the parents. We have to engage them to teach them about child policy, so child protection policies, so that the whole community have a knowledge of it. So these people have to be brought all together, and they have to be taken through these trainings together, so that they will hold themselves all accountable. Because if we teach one side, the other side will say, no, I don't know about it. So they have to be brought all together. The church leaders, the community leaders, the government official, and the lawmakers, they have to be brought all together and be taken through child protection policies, so that they can all hold themselves accountable if there's any other things. So these are the three things mainly I can see that if they are implemented, we can see that children will be out of child labor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ludanga. So at this point, I would like to call from the audience. I would like to call Mr. Mohammed Kamis. I hope I got it right. If I butchered your name, you will have to forgive me. Mohammed, if you can hear me, the floor is yours. If you have any contribution.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Ambassador.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Some of these challenges at the community level, not necessarily those in the mining sector, but those who even benefit indirectly from the outputs of the mining sector.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's important that we have a coordinated approach to this issue. So what the private sector can do, and then as I stated earlier on, it's not just a one-way approach. We as civil society or as advocacy groups, we need to carve our messages in a certain way. So for instance, if you bear witness to the fact that in Ghana, there are certain issues that come up in the media, and then there seem to be a diversion in the approaches, the attention, and then the alliances. So certain people will not necessarily feel that it's okay for a child to do certain things. But at times, the way we couch the messages, the way we do the advocacy. So for instance, you can't go into a community and then you neglect some of their fundamentals, some of their traditions, and say that, oh, why would you take your child to the farm? It's child labor, so stop. So the way we go about some of these things. So for instance, as I said earlier on, a private sector might benefit from this activity, directly or indirectly. Because if the child goes and then gets the gold, the lithium, the diamond, etc., and come to sell it even to an individual at a cheaper price, where would the individual, unless the person is using it for his or her own individual something, the person would have to go and sell it to a bigger company or something, because usually we have the middlemen who use some of these cases to get the products as a cheaper cost and sell to these private sector. So I think, one, we should create awareness on the impact of some of these activities on the kids, the impact of some of these activities on the society as a whole, the impact of this activity on the future generation. So for now, a child might go through and be okay. But if we want to have a sustainable development, how do we ensure that from the initial stage, a child is brought up in a way that the person does not become a burden on society. So then civil society can work with private sector to initiate certain awareness campaign. So it could be creating awareness on the need for us to pay attention to what we are doing, not necessarily saying that it's good or bad, but we need to give it a second thought and then know the impact of these things on the children, on the society, and then actually forge ahead as a country or as a community. So I think in this regard, this is how we can engage the private sector to draw the attention to that challenge we are having as a society, and then together we can forge ways and partner to make sure that this is ended.
Great. Thank you so much, Joyce. I would now go to the participants. If there's anyone who wants to ask a question or has a contribution, you're welcome to do so now before we go to the concluding remarks. Is there anyone with a question? Does anyone have a question they want to ask or a contribution to the discussion?
Veronica?
Hello?
Yes, Geoffrey here. My name is Geoffrey Nsubuga from Uganda. Actually, I have a mixed feeling because I thought I was invited to give a speech, but nevertheless, I have the opportunity to say something. I want to start with the issue of the private sector. I work with an organization called Somero Uganda, and we are implementing programs around mining. And I am also the Master Scrum Trainer for the International Labour Organization on issues to do with the elimination of child labor. Just to take to give a snapshot, when we look at issues of private sector, you realize that we do not have, as Africa, we are not having user organizations. When it comes to mining, most of the user organizations are out of Africa. So this means that majority of people who are buying the mines that are here are bought from Africa, are middlemen or just individual businessmen. So this leaves a lot of gap when it comes to issues of protection. And you realize that the companies, the user companies, already have policies that are very streamlined. But what is so annoying is that you find that these policies are followed when they are in Europe, but when you come to Africa, they are not followed, and yet this is their supply chain. So then this becomes an issue for us that we need to put in mind when we are thinking of how best can we create synergies. These people need to come on board, and they also get to know that where they are getting, we are part of their supply chain. And if this is not something that is dealt with, then there are going to be a lot of issues. Two, you realize that we have a lot of artisanal miners. These artisanal miners are not formalized. So you find that they are scattered and they are doing things their own way. And you might agree with me that when it comes to artisanal miners, they depend so much on household labor. And this brings in children, because in Africa, most of this, it's either women or children. So this makes the women more vulnerable, and it is increasingly leading to issues of child labor within our areas. Coming to what can we do, I think that we need to also tap into the structure of the tripartite structure, which takes on which takes on the trade union. I think we need to tap into the existing trade unions in our African countries, and we try to see how best can we influence their members, able to mind about issues of elimination of child labor in their supply chain. One thing that I also sit at National Steering Committee on Elimination of Child Labor in Uganda, and one thing that I've always tried to push is to see that the products have a commitment statement that this product is a child labor free. They are certified products, and before they come to the market. And then people will buy these products when they are very comfortable that these are child labor free products. The way we put these statements on cigarettes, on beer, and so on, this could be also a motivation issue that we can also bring up as a platform and see how we can move. At a global level, I also think that we tap into the existing platforms. How can we as African countries bring together our voices and work together to push our governments? There's the ILO Convention 123 on underground work. So how do we have all our governments ratify it? Because then we'll be talking on an informed view, and we'll be able to roll down these ideas into our communities. Issues of policy, cross-powers policy. Have got a number of policies, but these policies are also hindered by social protection. Even if you bring a policy, but you do not mind about the social protection of the households, then how are you expecting that the communities are going to move away from the hazardous and harmful employment of children? Because this is the work they are doing is not giving them enough. The artisanals themselves also need to be brought together and formalized and educated, so that we can also look at alternative kinds of labor provision. One thing that I think about, that when we are creating synergies, we have to think, how do we have labor intensive methodologies of mining? Because mining is not going to stop. But how do we have labor intensive methodologies so that they are promoted in African countries and African communities that have mining in particular? Then we will be able to see our communities progressing and meaningfully coming up, provide to eliminate child labor, issues of child labor. I would also wish to see that our governments are engaged, because this is a strong platform. Students and youth have a very big voice. So if we can
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Organizing of farmers and promoting community systems. I thank you very much for the time.
Yeah. I wish I had more time, and I would, be writing notes and, make sure that we produce, something for the people to read. I think you have, unpacked a lot of content, particularly around this fundamental question. The health issue is of importance. So I sent my presentation to the Secretariat, so you can have a copy there. I have a presentation on this. Definitely. I'm sure all our listeners have heard that the presentation is there. Please just stay in touch with the All Africa Students Union Secretariat and the team, so that you can get, the presentations from all our speakers. I'm sure it's there and it will be produced and be published with everyone. From me, the moderator, I thank you all for this loyal audience and for the wonderful content that has been given by the speakers. Hopefully you all keep safe, stay safe in these, trying times. It's COVID-19, has changed the order. So we need everyone to be safe so that we can meet again and start to articulate and implement the solutions that we have heard from our speakers. I'm sure you all had questions, but I'm being told that our time has come to an end whilst we're still enjoying, what was being discussed from these people. So from me, your moderator, and from my speakers, thank you very much, and everyone who participated and contributed to this session, thank you very much. I'm sure there are many sessions that are going to be done today. Please join and support All Africa Students Union so that as Africans, as students from Africa, young people from Africa, and all the African network can grow our continent, our benefit and the benefit of the future generations that are going to come after us. So thank you very much. My name, as I said, it's Ashley Punye, straight from Zimbabwe, a former Zimbabwe National Students Union Secretary General. Thank you very much. Enjoy your days, enjoy your evenings, enjoy your mornings. Thank you very much. See you all. You can unmute.
Thank you.
And say
Thank
bye-bye.
you, Wanda.
Yes, Tanaka, I can see you.
Thank you. All the way from Rwanda.
Thank you all the way from Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. It was a great audience. Thank you very much, and thank you. Let's meet in the next session. I'm sure the ASU team is organizing another session for us to continue cross-pollinating on these issues, to continue sharing ideas on these issues that are arising at this particular time. So we are willing to learn. These days, we all know that we learn from each other and we learn from the books that we read. So you can all unmute, introduce yourself, take this time to say anything that you want to say to encourage everyone so that we can all be effective change makers, change drivers for the entire continent of Africa. Oh, all right. I can go random.
Hello, everyone. Okay, my name is Kiana Ezugu, and joined here. I'm sorry I joined very late. I'm glad to be part of this event.
Okay. Welcome, Isugu.
Thank you, Sugu. I will just go randomly. I will invite Princess Apia Ubi. You can unmute yourself, Princess Kubi. Okay, I'm sure she just left the jacket on the chair and the Zoom on. Kwame Smith Akwa, you can introduce yourself and speak to the people. It's a great opportunity.
Hello.
Kwame Smith.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, we can hear
I'm
you.
Save from Burundi.
Yeah,
and very happy
Kwame
to
from
attend
Ghana.
in the training. Yeah, Save from Burundi.
Okay, and this is Kwame from Ghana.
Okay. Thank you for the session. It was very great to attend.
All right, thank you too. I enjoyed it.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Who form a youth board and an upcoming children who will becoming a bigger youth board. in their generation, we just don't know what might happen. And it should be a concern because, see, we share borders. And we always say or say that we are thankful as a country because we are surrounded by three neighboring countries who have all experienced some form of civil unrest. And how, as Ghana is in the middle of these three countries, we still maintain our peace, we can only be thankful to God. And it means that it is very close to us than we can imagine. And so if the next cohort is coming and right now they are being radicalized as child soldiers, they are child laborers, they are going to carry this, whatever it is in their heart, whatever message or socialization they have received, whatever revenge they want to vent on whoever, into their young age. And at that point, if they still feel that the system is against them, the system is not helping them as it should, the system, hello, sorry.
Hello.
Yeah, the system is not helping them as it should, then they get to that stage and we might not be happy with what we will see. And even on us, as a current generation, we also would have failed them because we did not play our role to ensure that we made it better when we had the opportunity. So I think that children should not, they should in no way suffer because of conflict. Child laboring should not be anything that we should be talking of. It is no fault of the children. And if in any case humanitarian aid will even go, children should be the priority. They should not be robbed of that childhood. Because if they are robbed of that childhood, it's going to, in a long way, tell what kind of adults they'll become or what kind of young people they will grow. For us as a generation, it is good that even now we have identified that it is a problem and we are talking about it. And so we should not fail them. It should not be said that a generation also saw this and did not address it. We need to do what we can do. There are still the gaps. I was talking about the support system. I was talking about receiving funding in these areas to run programs and all of that. Despite it, we still have that responsibility. At least let's do our best so that posterity will know that we tried. Posterity will be kind to us that at least we played our role. And to any young person here, any medium that you have, your social media page has a lot of power. Wherever you find yourself in these very issues, we are talking of child labor, conflict, they are all interlinked. Let's not forget. Being a child laborer deprives you of school. It means it deprives you of the opportunity to learn a skill or to gain an education that will make you a responsible citizen or will give you a source of livelihood in the future. It means that it is depriving you of it is going to deprive you of what will keep making you a responsible citizen when you grow up. And we don't want to continue that. So thank you very much, Edmond. I would want to end here. If there is any comment like Dr. Basu also mentioned before he left, I'm also open to that. And then we can probably call it a day.
Okay, so if there are any questions from the audience, if there is none, if there is any question or there is any contribution, we can use the raise hand button, then we just call on you to speak. In the absence of any question or contribution, I would like to thank SNM. I think this is the second time we are calling on you, and you have honored our invitation. We are grateful. We will be publishing the feedback from this particular roundtable, and we'll share it with all participants when it is ready. We thank everybody for making it. It has been a pleasure hosting you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edmond, also for the opportunity, and to everyone. Hope to
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
It's been a while. I hope you're well.
about the child labor in all over, in Africa is something that is quite alarming. And we want to thank the ASYS for having us, or rather having this opportunity to make sure that it is discussed and we put an end to child labor. So I'm honored to have been invited by ASYS to moderate the panel. So on the action we need to take now in putting practical measures to ensure the future of all children being born, all children in Africa. So being born and raised in Kenya, or rather the modern society in Kenya, where children's skills and capacities are evaluated primarily on the ability to contribute financially to the family. I do understand clearly what awaits us in future if the future of young children aren't secure today. So I have an amazing panel. I'll introduce them in this order. So the presenters today, we have Dr. Amena Hali. Dr. Amena Hali is the UN envoy to Gambia and also the Director, Federation of International Gender and Human Rights. Welcome, Daktari. In Swahili, we call you Daktari. So welcome so much to this panel. And number two, I have Giuseppe Lipari. So Giuseppe Lipari is the steering committee member of the Global Students Forum. Karibu and welcome, Giuseppe. And also the lady in the house, I can't wait to call your name. Welcome so much, Winnie Nyandiga. Winnie is the Africa coordinator, 1 million campaign. It's just an amazing to host you today and to have you here. So I will give each one of you 2 minutes to actually to give us elevator speech about yourself so that I take the discussion forward. Thank you. So in order of introduction, I'll start with Daktari Amena Hali. Daktari, the floor is yours. Have your 2 minutes and tell us who you are. Maybe I did not mention it well. Thank you. It seems like Daktari might be facing some of the technical challenges. I'll go direct to Giuseppe Lipari. Giuseppe, are you in the house?
Yes, of course. Can you see me?
Thank you so much and welcome. Take 2 minutes and introduce yourself and make sure that the audience in Africa and the world is.
I hope that you can hear me because I don't know if it's my connection or Ronnie connection frozen. So first of all, so I will start. I hope you can hear me. And thank you very much for the very kind introduction. First of all, yes, I'm a steering committee member at the Global Student Forum. That is the international global platform of student unions and organizations, of which also ASYS is part of. So we are 199 members in 119 countries and territories of the world, but the count needs to be updated regularly thanks to the expanding network of all of our members, member organizations, of course. First of all, let me say that it's really an honor to be here and to have this occasion to speak to you all. And it's always great to join ASYS and ASYS activities in general. Something that I would like to say is that really it's key to have an holistic vision while we tackle the end of child labor, the fight to end the child labor, because the first thing that we want to do is to connect a fair share of resources and a social protection that really can reach every part of the world to end child labor finally and to transform the power distribution in the world that is at the moment the cause of child labor, the structural cause. That really keeps an incredibly high number of children out of school, of education, and really just to be exploited in the labor market. I do think it's extremely important that we tackle collective action. We work together to fight for social justice, something that the global student movement is absolutely interested in. And I do think that people of 100 million campaign can also talk much better than me on that. But we are really honored of working with them and of hosting these topics on our platforms and our events. And what I do think is really we should underline the fact also as student unions and organizations that child labor and free education for all are incompatible among each other, because of course if a society allows children to be exploited in the labor market, it means that we are structurally denying the right to study to people. So this is a problem of global inequality. So we see differences among the north and the south of the world, and at the same time we know it's a problem of class struggle, because in many countries it really depends on the social class you are part of, and it's really a problem that is about the entire world. Africa, unfortunately, is a negative example of this story. We need to work a lot to change the condition of learners, and in particular to save children in Africa, but it's a problem that is really common for the entire planet. So we should understand our differences, focus on our common goals, and at the same time create solidarity to work together towards change, both on advocacy, working in international institutions, towards the governments, and through mobilization that sometimes is needed to make our voices heard. So again, thank you very much. I would like really to thank all the Global Student Forum Network for this opportunity, the 5Share campaign that is really bringing these topics everywhere and making this possible for common discussion. And just to say, count on us, because we are here to support the student unions and student organizations from every part of the planet that want to be incisive on this topic. Thank you very much.
Oh, I really don't even want to add on top of whatever you've said. You've said it all. Thank you so much, Mr. Lipari. I'm really humble about your, the introductory speech is really amazing, and thank you for supporting ASU and the entire African students, or rather the union. So, as you know that our continent's future, peace and security will be determined in the investment we make in education. I commend mostly the African government's efforts, some of the African government efforts to make education more accessible to everyone, starting with increased financial allocation for free and high quality education, and a system-wide reform to make it more relevant and responsive to the time we live in. So despite this, millions of children continue to skip schools for a variety of reasons, including distance to school, the family, poverty, which makes basic necessities such as food, uniforms, and stationery unaffordable. So this is the main reason as to why kids are being subjected to hard labor, and in order to provide for themselves. Like I did mention when you're starting the session, that where I come from, students are being evaluated, or rather not the students, but the kids are being evaluated based on what they can bring on the table, rather to support the family. So you see a lot of students, or rather a lot of kids, are getting into the street. They are going to do hard labor so that they can come back and support the family. So Winnie, I'm on you. You will take this opportunity to introduce yourself better than I did, and also tell us how do you ensure the education for all, especially as we are speaking about the pragmatic steps that we need to ensure that every kid's future is secured. So what are some of the, how do we have to ensure, or rather the organizations and the governments, how all of us have to ensure on education for all? Like, not every kid is left behind because probably where he or she comes from. Yes, take the floor, please, if you don't mind. Karibu sana.
Okay, thank you very much, Ronnie. And also thank you to the All Africa Students Union, together with the partners, for putting this summit together. And the topic is very necessary and timely. So I'm Winnie Nyandiga. Good evening from Nairobi, Kenya. I work with the 100 Million campaign, and currently I am the Africa Regional Organizer. So to your question, Ronnie, first I have to give it up before I answer why it is still an issue. Education for all, yet when it comes to implementation, we are seeing problems. So first I have to say that I'm very proud, very, very proud. And oh, Mama Africa, I am so elated by the courage of young people, and so motivated by the courage of young people, because this year on the Fair Share to End Child Labor campaign, I have gotten, or rather I work with some of the fiercest youth activists across the continent. And I am part of this, because at 100 million, we mobilize young people to protect the rights of their marginalized peers, to safety, to education, and to freedom. And for me, I am part of it because I know our future is secured when there is meaningful youth engagement. When marginalized young people are involved in co-creating policies that best fit their needs and their community's needs. So throughout the sessions that we have had in this summit, and even to answer your question, it is very clear that achieving a fair share of resources, policies, and social protections for every child, and even young people, will not just end child labor. It will enable entire communities and countries to reclaim their power, rights, and lives. And as we have had again throughout the sessions, and I say again because we all know that it isn't an issue of not knowing how to end exploitation and exclusion, or that collectively the world doesn't have enough money to implement the policies and interventions that work. And you're speaking about education, and even when we look at our different African countries, and even maybe to give Kenya as an example, where we have free education. But free is relative. How free is free? We say education is free, but we still have so many children, as you're saying, not going to schools, and especially children in rural areas. And when you come to the big cities, children in informal urban settlements that are not able to access education, yet we say education is free. It's not that we don't have money. It is all because of political goodwill. We don't have the political goodwill. I see year after year us allocating budgets, and we put some to education. But is it enough? And you walk in the slums and children are not in school, and because we work even with young activists, not only in rural areas, but even in the informal urban settlements. And the reason why children don't get to go to school, yet education is free, you'll hear it's because of other levies that are being, introduced in schools, and parents are not able to afford it. So Ronnie, just to answer your question, it's because of political goodwill. Our leaders know what they're supposed to do, but they do not want to do that. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, because when they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, right? And expecting different results. But you see, not acting to end these injustices is a political choice being made by our decision makers, both at the local, national, at the global level, time and time again. And so, we have to do much. And of course, back even to the panel and even to the participants who are following. When it comes to our leaders promising things and them not implementing it, are we really holding them to accountable? We are in a social contract. They have to work on it. And even for us, we have a duty, to truly evoke change. We have to work beyond the surface or the symptoms, and maybe transforming the system itself. So even I think as we are organizing, just not in Africa, but even across the globe, and even as student leaders, as youth leaders, we really have so much to do. And of course, one of it being holding our leaders accountable. They get away with so much because no one is holding them accountable. And even when we hold them accountable, we are not straightforward on it, or we are not applying pressure. So maybe 2021, we should apply pressure.
Well, I can see Lipari is using sign language to accolade and appreciate whatever you have said. I understand. It's easy to appreciate. Winnie, I'm amazed. Actually, that's a very, very strong presentation. And to be precise, that you have answered my question. I don't even have to ask you another one. I can see. Oh, all right. Lipari, your hand is up. Do you have something? All right, I can see the hand is down. Lipari is behaving like the backbenchers. When they carry their hand, when teachers looking at them, now the hand is down again. But thank you, Winnie. I don't know whether we have the opportunity. Dr. Are you in? Not really. So it means that as per now, I am going back to Lipari. Mr. Lipari, as you are aware, process production. To be honest, the less money we spend on children now, the more money we will spend on the domestic security and and the future, and vice versa. Vulnerable youngsters are readily enticed to join criminal and terrorist groups inside and beyond our borders. This desperation among youngsters are precisely what we must avoid at all costs. It's better to deal with a crime that results from the delinquency than with one that results from lack of fundamental necessities. So far easier to deal with a youngster who is hungry, living in terrible circumstances, and believes their future has been stolen. So to build a continent suitable for our children, we must invest in all children now to ensure a safe and a peaceful Africa. Now, my question is, Mr. Lipari, how can we make sure that every child, regardless of his or her community status, their voices are heard? Like, I did mention that I come from Kisumu, Kenya, and here maybe we might not be having, those organizations that are speaking on our behalf. We are actually in a very bad state, especially when it comes to education. I now in turn is going to deny me a bursary to take my kid to school. So how can we make sure that our voices are heard, especially us who are in the local communities and the villages, without mentioning the status? How do we make sure that our voices are heard? Mr. Lipari, you can take the floor.
Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me, because sometimes it freezes a bit, but I hope you can hear me. But I understood the question, and thank you very much for this question. I do think that the first problem is really making sure that organizations that do represent young people reach every place. And it's something that, should start from ourselves. I also come from school student activism. So also school students self-arranging themselves is a great solution to at least start understanding who is reaching the educational institutions or not. That is something that unfortunately, of course, it's not enough. It's never enough, because of course, for example, a school student union will always represent people that are already in school, and you need to find a way to understand who is not really inside the school system and inside education, even in the early stage, in which is normal that maybe children do have some problems at self-organizing themselves, because of course they depend on their families, they live, they also have limited political freedom for many different other reasons, some wrong and some good. But which is the problem? The problem I do feel is really understanding what's happening, and doing so, understanding that with a big difference, with a big gap of resources that really derives from the social conditions and economic conditions of families, it's impossible to have public education for all if you don't give different instruments to different people. So if you have a child that comes from a family which needs another person to work, otherwise their their life conditions will not be sustainable, you need to support them, even financially. It's something that some welfare systems in some countries do manage to do. Unfortunately, and I have to say that in the global north, we are talking about that, but don't think that in the global north, all countries do manage to do so, because, for example, Italy is in the global north and is absolutely a bad context. Is the country where I'm from, in particular my region. There are huge amounts of children out of school already at the age of 10. I know it's not comparable to what's happening in your countries, but you know, it exists. It's a problem that is spread. Welfare is the solution. To understand which welfare is needed is also important to avoid approaches that are just top-down, with the governments thinking that they invent a great solution for everyone, because it's necessary to enter communities, to understand what's happening inside communities. And at the same time, let me say that in some cases, you will not just face poverty and lack of resources, but in some cases, you will face a culture and some values that are reproducing since the decades you left these people without any service and without any public support. So what you were saying about organized crime is extremely important. In some areas, even in the most developed countries, you will find popular areas of the cities with organized crime really controlling the streets and telling to people, look, if your child go to school is a stupid person, what are you doing? Why don't they just work with us? Because we can produce a lot of money. This person does not need to study, does not need to have you wasting time. And you know, these mechanisms do exist. I'm simplifying, of course. These things are extremely complex, but it's extremely important to know that in reality, there is a big impact also of culture that is reproducing with time. So it's important to get active, to have a public administration get active that spends the money in the right direction. So supporting the fact that people under a certain age go to school and that their work is going to school and not doing anything else. But while doing that, it's incredibly important that we work together with communities, that we enter communities. We also try to include the parents, especially for the youngest children, and we talk to them and we understand with them what to do. And I do feel also for good examples that we do have in the south of my country, but also in other countries of Europe, that school student unions and university student unions can do part of this job. Because of course, you know, yeah, we are the privileged on some point of view, but it's also true that some of us in reality are part of this of the educational system exactly thanks to welfare, exactly thanks to the support that is given by the state, because otherwise their family would not afford it, or otherwise they would be exactly from the same areas of the same cities in which we are talking about early school living, or in this case we are talking about child labor. So I know it's complicated. We should mix everything, but understanding that really the problem should become a priority. The problem should become a priority looking at grassroots, so looking at what's happening in the concrete life of real people on the streets, and at the same time knowing that if it's working exactly because there is a global system that works with the exploitation of some areas of the world, with exploitation of resources, which includes exploitation of labor, and child labor is the highest and the worst example of work and labor exploitation. So with this analysis that is holistic, we should be, you know, have a good and productive dialogue to reach all the levels of society and to understand the class struggle as it is and the global struggle and also the global inequalities as they are. Sorry for being long.
No. Actually, you're on point. You know, I'm pretty sure that everyone is really following this. This is just amazing. And every point you're bringing out a very clear and precise point. So thank you so much, Lipari. I'm really proud of today's session, and I hope every listener and every viewer, you know, the way you're bringing out these points, it means that someone who's watching this will be having a very difficult question for you. So you better prepare, because you may get a very, very difficult questions that you may say, hey, Ronnie, can you unmute me so that we see a way forward? But it's okay. So coming back, because we are also working with time here, I can see we still have some time, and we have only 2 speakers, because I have received a sincere apology from Dr. Amena. She will not be in because of one or two business. So that leaves Lipari and Winnie to take the floor. You know, you want to eat even the time Daktari was supposed to be using. That's really amazing. It's a plus on you people. I want to take you back because I was just framing a question so that someone who was probably not aware of what we were discussing could chip in. But now I want to take the session back now to main theme of today. You know, tomorrow will be determined by what we do today. And when we don't secure their future, it means that later on, we might be haunted, you know, the crime issues, or rather the crime rate, especially from the local cities. You know, when someone is frustrated, someone does not have, or rather did not have better education, someone did not even have something better in life, now is frustrated, is trying to make the ends meet. It's very difficult for him. He ends up in the street trying to, you know, to rob and make sure that, you know, the crime rate and the fight between the local administration, or rather the local police, and, you know, the young people, rather the youths, is, you know, quite high. Now, the main agenda of this summit was to make sure that we need to put those actions today so that tomorrow we don't have such problems. I want to get back to Winnie. Winnie, you as the Africa coordinator, 1 million campaigns, I want to specify, or rather, you know, take you back to whatever you have been doing as one of 100 organization in Africa. Now, tell us, maybe you guys have put some actions, rather some pragmatic steps to secure the future of kids, and some of us, we are not aware. Now, I want to take you. Tell us what your organization has been doing in achieving action now, putting into pragmatic steps to secure the future of every child. Thank you. You can take the floor.
Okay, Ronnie, and it is 100 million campaign. 100, not 1 million, and I'm coming to it. So what we're doing at the 100 million campaign is that we support young people across the world, not just Africa, to mobilize and refuse to accept that the fundamental rights of over 100 children to freedom, safety, and education are still denied. You know, and we are cognizant of the fact that this further puts them at risk of being denied other fundamental rights. So we have been doing so for years now, because, as I've said, we are cognizant of the fact that this child who's being denied the right to education is the same child who is at risk of being denied their right to freedom. It is still the same child who is at risk of being denied their right to safety. So we have one child, one young person at the intersection of all this denial of all these rights. And when they're denied these rights, again, it puts them at risk of being denied, you know, so many things. And so we are cognizant of that. And that is why we continue to do what we are doing. As I had said before that, and I have to reiterate on it again, that even us and the government, I'm saying us because even us at a personal level, as citizens, you know, we have a duty to hold our leaders accountable. And our leaders not acting on these injustices is a political choice. It is lack of goodwill. So because we don't have money, there is so much money. We have seen during COVID has made so many billionaires. That just goes to show how there is so much money in this world. But we refuse to give a fair share to the most vulnerable and marginalized children. And again, as I've said, that to truly evoke change, we have to work beyond the surface of the symptoms. And we have to transform the system itself. It's about time, young people, leaders who are listening. It's time we change the systems, don't you think? So this is why this year, especially being the UN year for the elimination of child labor, and unfortunately, Africa being home to most of the child laborers in the world today, under the Fair Share campaign, youth activists from across the continent, from Cameroon to Namibia, to Burundi, to Malawi, to Congo, to Uganda, Tanzania, Togo, Liberia, Nigeria, Ghana, they have assembled national coalitions of civil society, grassroots activist organizations to fight to end child labor in their countries. So, from January to now, I have seen this young people, and that's why even I'm saying at a personal level, I am very elated and motivated by the strength I see in young people across this continent. Yeah, and they have been able to achieve so much with so little. And I have to say that because I've seen how, or rather what they are doing in their countries, and it is just incredible work. You know, from a new national action plan to end child labor in Uganda, which was launched in May by their president, to the campaign in Togo, being recognized by the office of the Prime Minister, and actually the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Human Rights and Social Affairs, joining the technical committee that will come up with demands to their parliament, where they will deliberate with their parliamentarians on how they can advocate for their budgets, how they can advocate for their social protection and their policies. You know, to Malawi, where our national lead is leading efforts in over 28 districts in Malawi. And it's just so much that is happening in the continent right now. So because you are asking of the pragmatic steps that we are taking, I have to say that action to Kenya, for example, is very different to the action that Congo wants. When you come to Kenya, and speaking authoritatively, is the fact that we have very nice policies, we have very nice laws. But when it comes to the implementation, that is where we, the young people who are against injustices, are not at par with our leaders. And so when you come to Kenya, for example, it is a lot of political advocacy so that we can have political goodwill that will lead us to budget advocacy. So it is very different for, again, other nations, other countries. It may be a community sensitization campaign that you just need in your country so that we can secure the future of the children who are at risk of child labor. Yeah, maybe what you need in your country is a sensitization campaign. To others, and I've given Kenya as an example, and even Uganda that has now launched the national action plan. Now for them it is more on so that the government can work on what they have, and even implementing the national action plan that was launched. Yeah, and to other people, and I'm thinking our countries in the West, a pragmatic action might be exposing the rogue corporations and companies that want to use cheap labor. And as a result, children are out of school, children are at risk of them being safe, and they have to work so that these companies can get cheap labor. So pragmatic, or rather actions. For me, when I looked at this topic, it was more of how do we move from strategy to actions. So again, as I've said, it can be political advocacy, it can be budget advocacy. For others, it can be influencing policies and legislation. To others, it is community sensitization campaign, like what our partners are doing in Malawi. To others, and even actually to all of us, is holding our governments accountable. And even lastly, to expose the people who are in need of cheap labor, they don't even have shame to have children under the age of 18 working for them. As they are increasing their wealth, these children's future is at risk. And if we don't act, we lose, or rather we risk losing a generation here in the middle. We keep on saying we are the leaders of tomorrow, we are the future. If we keep on going like this, then there will be no future for us to lead, because we are not capacitating the generation that should be leading. So those are the pragmatic action or steps that we can take, Ronnie.
Thank you, Winnie. Amazing. For our viewers, 1 million organization, 100 million organization. We have a website, and it is www.100million.org/end child labor. So if you need to, listen to more, because I am even personally, I'm going to listen for more from the website, because Winnie is just highlighting some issues. It's not, speaking all of it. The time might not be there. But now you have time, go listen, and actually, if you have something to put or other comment to make, you can actually text them, say that this is what I think should be, added on top of whatever you guys have read there, because this is the reason as to why we are having this conversation. The conversation is about what can be done. The conversation is about in the future, what are we preparing for right now? Because when we just said that, it's always, it's always like people talk about youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. Yesterday was yesterday, today we are today, and then we don't know what tomorrow holds for us. So I am urging youth. It's high time you don't think about leaders of tomorrow. We take actions now. We lead today, because no one knows tomorrow. We lead today. We stand up. If it is about holding the government accountable, let us stand up. Let us hold them accountable and let them give the fair share to the local kid in the slum. Let them give fair share to the women. Let them give fair share to everyone that deserves that. And it's high time we should differentiate between a right and a favor. Ending child labor is not a favor we are doing to children, but it's their right. It's not upon the children to bring financial aid, to go work hard in the street to make sure that they bring food on the table. It's upon their parents. And that's the reason as to why I am urging, if you're there and your organization, you should actually take a walk. Make sure that there are some policies that need to be tightened. Like you said, in Africa, policies are there, very good policies. Constitutions are there, very good constitutions that are supposed to be protecting citizens. But now the implementation becomes a problem. No one wants to implement them. People just talk about them, but it ends there. You find that someone who is in a very big organization, someone who is a politician, someone who was elected by the people to go and represent them, are coming back to the society to employ children under 18 years of age to go and work for them in maybe their newly built building. Those are the things that we need to come up and take action and make sure that no one, absolutely no one, exploit the future of our children while we are watching. Because this is not a laughing matter. It's about the future of someone. If you want to joke with my future, then you are killing me. Someone who doesn't have a future is someone who's halfly dead. So if you're talking about the future of kids, or rather the future of our children, we should be very, very serious and make sure that after the summit, we walk this talk. It does not end today. And if you are a youth over there and you think that you need to take a chance, get out, let your voice be heard, and make sure that the future tomorrow, because we might not live forever. Our kids, our children will live tomorrow. And those are the people that we have to make sure that their future are secured so that they will live tomorrow. I don't want to, to make it to be emotional, but this is a very serious matter. And I want to thank ASYS for organizing for this. We people from the local area, we are actually, our future being, exploited. And there's absolutely nothing we can do because I don't have money. I have to go and kneel down to ask for a bursary for my kid to go to school. I have to do this, and this. So these people, they have made us to make sure that we think that our rights are our favor. So we cannot shamelessly demand, our rights, because they think that when they give us whatever is a fair share to us, they are doing us a favor. So every youth out there, there are things that are not our favors. The constitutions are there, the policies are there. Let us make sure that we govern the policy. Just to highlight on, Dr. Lipari did say, that we should understand the differences among us. Those are the differences that probably, when we understand them so clearly, we might now have a leap in the future. What comes next? We cannot solve something if we are not in solidarity. We have to come together. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which region are you coming from, because the end product is about securing the future of Africa. So you might coming from West Africa, you might coming from East Africa, you might be coming from South Africa, but let us put our differences aside. Let us unite and make sure that we are in solidarity to attack whoever is responsible for holding captive the future of our kids. So when you mention about the political goodwill, but just to highlight, the political goodwill, these people have now abused us, they want to make us sleep while they're stealing our future. I did mention that dealing with someone who is hungry is very difficult. Someone who knows that the future has been stolen is very difficult. That person is bitter. That person can burn the whole village because he thinks that that is the village that denied him the right to have proper education. So we need to come up. It doesn't matter the position you got. It doesn't matter whatever you hold. But so long as you have your voice, that is the step we need to make. Also about the budget and allocation. Now this one I'm saying to the young parliamentarians, the youth in our parliament, because that is the house, lawmaking house. That is the house that is responsible for allocating the budget to various ministries and various, So young people, whenever you are elected to go and represent the youth, because I can see some of the constitution, especially now, they have this this allocation for the youth, like a nomination, a youth has to be nominated. But I want to discourage now. We don't have to wait to be nominated to make sure that we are represented. We need to take that action. Let's go. Let's vie. Let's get these seats. Let's represent us and make sure that this fair allocation of resources. And also, we have to make sure that the exploitation of the child labor, or rather the child, is also ended. So there are some things that we can only do at the top, the top-bottom approach. So we have youth in the parliaments. We have them, very young people. But when they go there, their minds are always corrupt. I don't know what's happening. But now we should stand and make sure that these people, we send them, make sure and negotiate on the policies. Things that probably will help the future of youth community sensitization. So, like I mentioned, that you don't have to, have some something like you can sensitize your community. We have graduates, we have young people who are graduates who have understood the community organization. They have very good community organization. Let's sensitize them and tell them that this and this is what we need to do to make sure that everything is put in hold. So at that particular time, because of time, we are running out of time. Before I give each and every speaker of today a chance to make few remarks, or rather the closing remark, I will let the floor. I will give everyone the audience in the audience to make maybe a quick question, and also to ask, or rather to ask anything that he might be or she might be willing to ask, and probably we may not have time to do that. Now I'm giving out that time so that everyone is up to date in the floor. So any question from anyone before I give Lipari and Winnie the opportunity to make their last few remarks before we end the session, because we are running out of time. I did mention that we start a bit late, but we are here, and I hope everyone is watching. So they're going to ask a question. Anybody? You can raise your hand and I can see. Anybody? All right. It means, Mr. Lipar, it means when there's no question, it means that the teacher did something very nice. So Winnie, that's a plus to you presenters of today. You did a nice work, but you'll have to go back and check. Maybe these people didn't understand or they understood all of it. When I was in high school, that was the thing that, the teachers were telling me, like, if you don't ask a question, it means you understood everything. But it's okay. It's very okay. I can see that there is no question. And also we are running behind time. I'll speak about 3 to 4 minutes because that one will be around 10 minutes. Let's take 5 minutes each to give our few remarks and also to add on top of whatever you might think that you didn't mention, and everyone you missed it and you need to mention it. So this is the last opportunity. I'm giving starting with Mr. Lipari. Mr. Lipari, take the floor and give us your few remarks, the closing remarks, and make sure that you walk the talk. When you get back there, please walk the talk and ensure that whatever we have discussed today does not end today. Take the floor, Mr. Lipari.
Thank you very much. First of all, again, I would like to thank you really, ASU and all the ASYS organizers for this opportunity, and also Winnie for having shared this space. It has been great, as always. Something I would like to say is really, we are trying at the global level to create different levels for participations and different levels of action, so that, as Ronnie was saying, we manage to continue working. We just don't keep these ideas for ourselves or our networks, but we try also to have an impact. Also, Ronnie was mentioning earlier the 100million.org website that is full of content materials. Also news on the last campaigns we are working about, but also I can tell you that the website of the Global Student Forum, that is simply globalstudentforum.org, because here we are creating these global structures, cooperating strictly with each other, exactly with the plan of having an impact at the global level, while we know that unfortunately for how the world works, the global impact normally is on the hands of not many people and not a lot of people, a small group of people, but it is very well resourced, very well positioned in society, and so they have the power to decide on instead of people, instead of countries, instead of sometimes a company is more politically relevant than a government, and these things are problematic. And that's when we were talking about the structural nature of the problems we are trying to tackle, and on everything. It's about public education. It happens when we talk about child labor. It happens when we talk about so many topics that we find this kind of problems. So it's key to work together and to act together. So again, I would like to thank you all very much, and in general also to thank the African student movement and the African student organizations, because we know that you are doing a great work also to defend your democracies, to improve your democracies. There's something really very crucial for the future of the world. To work together, try to use the opportunity just to show that maybe we are different from the corrupted ones. We are different from the system that we are trying to change, because we are among the few ones at the international level that clearly say that the system needs to change, as millions of people said in the streets for many different reasons. But we are saying that also concretely. We also are saying that with numbers in our hands, quoting also with a sort of not objective but realistic approach to what's happening in the world. So thank you very much, and I really hope we will manage to meet again really soon, and especially to work really soon together.
Thank you, Mr. Lipari. Personally, I will make sure that this conversation does not end now, and also we walk the talk. So Winnie, please, you have to take about 2 minutes and you wrap up and give us your few remarks. Thank you, Winnie. Take the floor.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. For me to just wrap this up, I want to tell the young people, who are listening and who are watching, who are here together with us for not just this session, but for all the summit, that it is okay. Let the resistance guide you. Instead of seeing resistance as a bad thing, view it as an energy of our most marginalized and vulnerable peers. It's not that they don't have a voice. They have a voice. And they're asking for fair share of resources, fair share of policies, and fair share of they're asking for a fair share of resources, budgets, and policies. Let us amplify their voices. So in terms of the Fair Share to End Child Labor campaign, if it is in your country, I have mentioned the countries where the campaign is currently running. Join the campaign and help amplify the voices of these children. And even when you talk about child labor, do not look at child labor alone. It is not a standalone issue. As we have seen, at the middle of child labor is a threat to the right to education, is a threat to the rights of safety. So child labor is not a standalone issue. And from where you are, if you are in the education sector, if you're in the health sector, you can fight for child labor. You can fight for the rights of our marginalized and vulnerable peers. So if it is in your country, please join us. If it is not too late. Start one. As 100 million campaign together with our partners, ASYS and GSF, we will support you every step of the way and amplify your leadership in every forum that we can. So please join us in this fight, because the bigger picture looks like us protecting this generation. And again, as I have said, that it is so unfortunate that Africa today is home to more child laborers than every region in the world. And I do not even want to think of how the statistics look like when we factor in the pandemic. Because the statistics that we have from ILO and UNICEF, it shows that child labor has gone up. But this is statistics before the pandemic. And now we have the pandemic. At a personal level, I don't even want to factor in how the numbers look like. So we have a duty. Please join us for the rights of our marginalized peers. They need us, and we need to protect this generation. Again, I say, if we don't protect this generation, if we don't protect the ones that are coming behind us, then there will be no future for you and I to lead. We need to capacitate young people and ensure that their rights are not compromised. Thank you so much, Ronnie. And again, thank you so much to our partners, the national leads on the ground, who are leading the Fair Share to End Child Labor campaign, 100 million campaign that brought all of us together and even to fight, or rather push for elimination of child labor this year and beyond. And to the partners like GSF and ASYS, that in your solidarity and in your partnership, the burden is becoming lighter. And yes, thank you so much, and have a beautiful week.
All right, Vinny and Mr. Lipari, I really appreciate. We are behind time. I'm very, very sorry for the organizers. And I did mention that at our time, but that is not supposed to be, something hanging on. But you're done, and I think you've given everyone good opportunity, especially our speakers for today. It's an honor to have you here, and I didn't know that I would meet these amazing presenters. Thank you so much. And for our viewers, my name is Ronnie, and I was the host today, or rather the moderator. It was nice having this session. And please subscribe to All Africa Student Union. Go to the YouTube channel, our social media platforms, and subscribe, like, comment, and share. Same to Global Forum for students. I didn't know whether you mentioned it well. And also same to 1 million, 100 million organization. I'm missing this every now and then, but it's okay. Please subscribe to make sure that you put a comment, make sure that at least you share, and we don't have to confine this, like I did say, we don't have to confine this only, like we are talking about this each and every year whenever the ASYS have such kind of a summit. But it's a walk and it's a talk that we need to walk every day. So thank you so much, guys. It was really amazing. And I love you all. Have a nice weekend. Winnie, I know Nairobi is cold, but please take care of yourself, COVID and the stuff. Thank you so much and have a nice time.
Recording in progress.
Hello, Ina. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for since yesterday till today. And I think it has been an awesome time listening to the amazing list of speakers that we've had for the 2 days that we've been organizing the summit. I would also want to quickly thank the previous panel. That is Ronnie Ochoro, Winnie Nyadinga from the 100 Million Campaign, and then Risipe Lipari from the Global Students Forum. I do think that they've highlighted very important points that would fit into the outcome documents of the summit. We do hope that immediately the summit declaration is published, we'll share it all around so that policymakers and other partners can quickly pick them up, and then we'll be able to take the needed action to ensure that child labor is brought to an end everywhere during the UN year of the elimination of child labor. Now, quickly, as we bring the summit to a close, we are having our final session before the closing remarks. Now, this final session is basically going to collect some parliamentary messages from a member of parliament across the African continent, and then we'll proceed to the closing remarks. Now, this afternoon, I have an MP from Namibia. She is in the person of Honorable Ina Kuviao Hengari. She is a Namibian politician, a student leader, and a youth activist. She's a member of the Popular Democratic Movement, and she became a member of the National Assembly in 20th March 2020, and she is the youngest since Makeri Venani in 2004. Previously, she served as Vice President of the UNAM Student Representative Council and the Student Union of Namibia. Currently, she serves as the Secretary General of the Young Democrat Union of Africa, and she's also the Shadow Minister for Youth, Sports, and Employment Creation in her country, Namibia. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Honorable Ina Kuviao Hengari as she gives her message. Honorable, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Samuel, and good afternoon to you all. Permit me to firstly thank the organizers of the summit, the leadership of the All African Students Union, and distinguished guests, panelists that we've had over the last 2 days, since yesterday, partners in the drive against child labor on the African continent. Now, as introduced, my name is Ina Hengari. I am from Namibia, I'm a member of parliament here. It excites me so much to be invited into spaces such as this to speak and to share 1 or 2 words, because I think as a young person and as young leaders in different political spaces, we take it upon ourselves to really fight for young people in our different countries, to represent the interest of young people at all times without fear or favor. Now, when I was approached and when I was asked to speak at this very important event, and further told that this year's theme is Act, Inspire, and Scale Up, giving a fair share to end child labor, I was particularly excited, not because of the drive against, not just because of the drive against child labor, but because so many of us in our different African countries have this experience. Many of us, of course, experience child labor in our different countries. We see young people being exploited in different ways, really, many of whom rely on this labor to make ends meet, not just for themselves as individuals, but also for their families. Now, I think over the last 2 days, yesterday I popped in and we were speaking about, I think I joined a session, where it was a breakout session where a speaker was talking about social protection and how that is the responsibility of government. Another point came up, it was about budgeting and how do we ensure as young people that our budgets, our national budgets are youth responsive, not only youth responsive, but are able to tackle, and how can we effectively use our monies driven from taxes and other revenues to ensure that the fight against child labor, amongst other things, is addressed head on. Now, child labor is not always reported in my country and in so many other countries, in Botswana, in Kenya. They're not widely reported, of course, for many reasons. But over the years, child labor has also evolved into child prostitution, as well as voluntary and forced agricultural labor, and cattle herding, and so many other things. The commercial sex exploitation of children occurs both in terms of children being prostituted, in terms of adults taking advantage of needy children by providing necessities. Child labor is widespread in Africa, as we've been discussing and as we've been saying. In 2017, many countries reported or argued that child laborers are also employed in private houses, where they work under poor conditions as domestic servants for little money and without employment contracts. Children all over the world, as I said earlier on, work because their survival depends on it. Now, I think as young people, all of us have a responsibility in our different spaces, in the different spaces in which we exist, to really take this fight forward, to make it personal, because it is personal. These are young people who are not only the future of Africa, but these are generations that follow after us. And it is therefore only patriotic, it is only Pan-Africanist to ensure that we are leaving a future behind where these people are taken care of. I really just came in to say that as young people, I would like to reaffirm in Namibia, in the Namibian Parliament, like to reaffirm our commitment as a country and as a young people of this country, to reaffirm our commitment to fighting child labor, to ending child labor. And it starts with us. It starts with each of us, ensuring that this fight is taken forward, ensuring that the necessary resources are allocated and are available to ensure that the fight against child labor comes to the fight against child labor succeeds. And we see young people now in new spaces, taking up space and cementing themselves. But more importantly is a point that I'd like to make, and I'd like to say this, that in our fight against child labor, in our advocacy against child exploitation, we must ensure that in the process of doing so, we create spaces, safe spaces for these children, that we fight also to ensure that existing spaces are safe, because now in emancipating these children from child labor, we must now introduce them into new spaces where they are taken care of, where they have access to education. Where they have access to education, where access to health is a priority, and access to education, as I said earlier on. So I'd just like to say I am duly privileged and honored to really have spoken at such an event. I know this is just a few minutes, but Sammy, you know that we were always in contact, and should there be any collaborators, programs, and initiatives that we can carry individually in our countries and bring on board so many other partners that are also interested in taking up this fight, I am open to it. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Honorable Ina Hengari. I think that you shared very important insights that we should really, in the sense that, this is a fight that young people should really own it, especially as we are going to and act on behalf of our fellow young people. So thank you so much for making time to share these very important words with us. And of course, we'll be very happy to reach out to you. Should there be that, we'll be very happy to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Sam.
Thank you. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much once again for joining us on the last session of the Africa Students and Youth Summit, the 10th edition. I think previously we would normally gather in person in certain locations that will be set, but for the past, since last year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we've not been able to meet in person. Hopefully, we are able to eradicate COVID-19 entirely so that things can at least return to normalcy a bit. So once again, thank you so much, Honorable, and we'll go on ahead to do the closing session of the summit. But before that comes up, I quickly want to mention the speakers that we've had since yesterday who have been thoroughly amazing to bring to the fore the issues that have been our headache concerning how children are being exploited and how their futures are basically being stolen away from them. So I'll start by mentioning our very own Dr. Kailash Satyarthi, who has been leading on the campaign to ensure that children have a fair share, that is a fair share to bring an end to child labor. Dr. Kailash Satyarthi, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate. And also Mr. Solomon Tesfa Mariam, Mr. Nicolas Diher, Ms. Angel Imbutia, the Secretary General and the Secretary for Gender and International Relations at the All Africa Students Union, Mr. Ankit Tripathi, Ms. Kira Bo, Mr. David Archer, Ms. Nerima Wako, Mr. Hugh McLean, Mr. Michael Obri Ajay, Mr. Samuel Panti, and our Honorable Ina Hengari, Mr. Guang Cho Chan, UNESCO, Honorable Millie Odiambo, Ms. Queensley Debbie, Mr. Papakojo Bochio, Mr. Amar Alao, Ms. Irabna Ahoy, Professor Goski Alabi, Ms. Shaharazad Abualile, Mr. Ashley Funye, Ms. Shereen Omondi, Mr. Martin Tetenate, Mr. Francis Foley, Mr. Andrews Adukwe Tego, Ms. Veronica Jiagu, Mr. Prosper Sabi, Ms. Joyce Nyame, Mr. Isubuga Geoffrey, Mr. Edmond Akotobamfo, and then Dr. Vasubonding, Ms. Esinam Amuzu, Mr. Seme Rudanga, Mr. Ronnie Ochoro, Dr. Amina Ali, Mr. Giuseppe Lipari, Ms. Winnie Nyandinga, and then last but not the least, Honorable Lawrence Saziso Kwankwa. So, thank you very much to all of our amazing speakers who have contributed a quota in ensuring that we are able to digest the issue of child labor and how we can collectively work together to ensure that we are able to bring child labor to an end totally. Now, once again, I want to, on behalf of the Secretary General and the leadership of the All Africa Students Union, I extend our warmest gratitude to all of you for making time to be part of the 10th Africa Students and Youth Summit, and also to our audience, we say thank you so much for also coming on board to share your insights and to ensure that we have a good summit that will not only just be talk, but will proffer solutions that will be necessary in ensuring that we are able to bring an end to child labor everywhere and not only on the African continent. So once again, we are grateful for making the time to be with us and to join student and youth voices across Africa to bring an end to child labor through the African Student and Youth Summit. Thank you so much once again. My name has been Samuel Saswa Donteng, the Programs Officer for Tertiary Education at the All Africa Student Union. Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best.